Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Graves.
And I'm Andy Howard.
Andy, how are you today?
I'm good, Curtis. How are you today?
No complaints at all.
That's great.
What do we have today?
I'm excited about what we got today, Curtis. We got an interesting topic, an interesting conversation, and an interesting guest. We're at the Fair Housing Center here in Mobile, and we're going to be talking with Miss Teresa Fox Bettis. I've known Teresa for her full existence.
Okay, all right, that should be interesting then.
But what I'm more concerned with is what Teresa's doing here in Mobile and what the Fair Housing Office is doing in Mobile. I think it's going to be a good show, and we'll be right back.
The Mobile County Public Schools Signature Academies program offers a variety of specialized curriculum for highly interested and motivated students. These academies provide students with choices ranging from aviation to healthcare, advanced information technology to international studies, from engineering to coastal studies. These high-quality hands-on programs prepare students for careers readily available in Mobile County. Signature Academies program. It starts with us.
Murphy High School played a big part of me getting to the next level, getting to college. I took honors classes here just to, to have that extra boost. From the University of South Carolina, it helped me tremendously. I played football there for 3 years and decided to go pro after my junior year. I think just the stuff that helped me at the Murphy High School helped me carry on to the University of South Carolina. Now I'm playing my 7th season in the NFL.
And we're back. Curtis, I think you've had the opportunity to, but let's introduce our audience to our guest of the day and our host, as a matter of fact, Miss Teresa Bettis. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Teresa, it's a pleasure and a positive opportunity for us to share with the community what you're doing here at Fair Housing. Please tell our audience a little bit about yourself. Let's start with, what is your title?
I am the Executive Director here at the Center for Fair Housing.
Okay. And Teresa, you're native to this area. Can you tell our audience a little bit? I like our audience to know that people from their own community are doing things. And, I guess it motivates young folks to know that they can attain those kinds of things if they pursue and aspire to things. So tell them a little bit about who Teresa is.
Well, I'm Teresa Fox Bettis, maiden name, the daughter of Charles and Lucille Fox. I grew up in Pritchard, Alabama, still live in Pritchard, Alabama. So I'm still here. I'm married to Dennis Bettis. We have 4 children.
Okay.
A beautiful little girl named Hannah and a son David, and we have Jonathan and Austin from my husband's first marriage. And so we're proud of all of them. And I've been here with the Center for Fair Housing for 17 years. I can't believe it.
17 years.
Yes.
So what is it that the Center for Fair Housing, what do you guys do?
Well, I tell you, we are what you would call a civil rights organization. We are a private nonprofit. And I really never quite saw myself doing what I'm doing.
Okay.
And I started out here as a volunteer. Some of what we do here at the center is called testing. And if you've ever heard of a mystery shopper, well, we do like mystery shopping, but for housing. Okay. So we send individuals out as if they're looking for a place to live, and we record that experience to see if there's some form of discrimination occurring. And so that's how I actually started out. And from there, I was offered a position and applied for the compliance officer. I was hired on, and a short time after that, my predecessor took a job in D.C. Okay. And so I served as interim executive director, and that was back in 2001, and applied for the position, got the position, and I've been here doing that ever since. And so outside of that, we do a lot of education and outreach services. We serve 8 counties, the southwest portion of Alabama. All of our services are free to the community. And we are also a HUD certified housing counseling agency as well. A lot of people don't know that. And we offer for things like first-time homebuyer classes. We offer financial literacy. We also do foreclosure prevention and loan modifications. So we have a wide variety of services that we offer to the community.
It's interesting. I never knew that because I always thought that this was an extension of the government and not a nonprofit organization geared towards civil rights. It's interesting.
We are primarily funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, as most people may know. And so, a lot of times people think that we are actually a HUD entity, but we are, in fact, just a HUD-funded, recognized organization, yes.
I think one of the things that we wanted to kind of hit on today was the how do you, as an organization, assist families in their relationship with the school system, for example, issues that relate to discipline or issues that relate to attendance. All of that goes toward making sure that our young people get the highest degree of education they can receive.
Correct. So families with children is one of the protected classes under fair housing laws. And so in that instance, what it means is it's illegal to discriminate against families who have children under the age of 18. So whether you are the actual parent, the grandparent, or the legal guardian, whether you have an adoptive child or children, it doesn't matter. Even if you're an expectant mother, you're covered under that particular protected class. And so we have worked with the Mrs. Rich office with their bullying campaign and partnering with them. So when we see children that are at risk, with their housing, that we try to go in and work with the families. Because what most people don't understand now is that the trend in housing, and not just in subsidized housing, but also in fair market rent housing, that there is an increasing zero tolerance policy. For instance, most people, if they read their lease, there's going to be some caveat in there that says when law officials are called out for some type of domestic issue or for drug activity, that could lead to a possible eviction, okay? And so one of the things that we want them to understand and know is that if little David or if little Mary gets in trouble at school, it used to be when we were kids, kids fighting is nothing new, but it has increased and it's gone to a different level. But now what happens that, especially if you are in subsidized housing, and for whatever reason, they can get into a fight at school, it could be at the movie theater, it can be anywhere. But if that apartment complex becomes aware of that, and there are ways that they find out, then what has happened is those children, your son or your daughter, has now put the entire family in jeopardy of being evicted.
That's interesting because recently here in Mobile, we had an incident at a movie theater in December.
Comes to mind.
As a law enforcement agent for this city, what can we do as a city or as a law enforcement entity to address those issues as they come up with you? How do we respond to you?
One is what we would like to see is to build a better relationship. I don't know that law enforcement really knows about what we do as an agency. Right. We've had some brief conversations with Chief Barber, but I think that we could elaborate on that. We could elaborate in working closer, like we said, with Mrs. Rich office on the bullying program, and try to do some education on as a preventive measure instead of a reactive measure. Because unfortunately, most times we're called after the event has happened.
Right.
After the events happen. We're going to take a brief break so we can talk about what happens then.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
The Environmental Studies Center is a natural sciences education facility designed to provide unique learning experiences. In addition, wildlife rehabilitation plays a vital role each day at the center. Featuring more than 500 acres of rich woodlands, the center affords teachers, students, and the general public an opportunity to experience firsthand the natural environment. Environmental Studies Center. It starts with us in the Mobile County Public Schools.
Do you have what it takes to be an Envision graduate? We are pioneering students to be all they can be, from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade.
I definitely would recommend Envision to other students who feel the way I feel. They really work with you, and they've gotten tutors, and you have online teachers to talk to.
It starts right here. It starts right now. Envision Virtual Academy. Enroll today.
Nationwide, an average of 24 children die each year.
And another 17,000 are injured in bus-related accidents.
Many of these can be prevented. The safety of our children comes first.
For the safety of our future, obey all traffic laws related to school bus safety.
Hi, I'm Pat Mitchell, Director of Transportation for the Mobile County Public School System. We're asking you to obey all bus safety laws. It could save a life. Remember, stop ahead when you see red. Our future depends on it.
And we're back. Ms. Bettis, let's talk about law enforcement and the relationship that law enforcement has with HUD.
Okay.
From a nationwide perspective.
I can say that I have not seen any indication that there's a national effort to really build that relationship, but I think that it is needed. What we have seen from the National Fair Housing Alliance is an attempt to build bigger relationships with school systems. They actually created a fair housing curriculum that can be implemented into the schools, so that where you have local agencies, they can go in and there's a curriculum already set up and begin to talk with the students and with the parents and teachers and educators, so that we really are on the preventive side of things happening instead of being on the reactive side.
Absolutely. In a better world
Yes.
scenario, we would like to have more proactive interaction so that parents and students understand that there are consequences for their actions, which might include their ability to have a roof over their head.
Exactly.
That's significant.
I would love to ask you a question that relates to the father and his role, I guess, for lack of a better term or phrase. Fair housing, how is it, you know, most part of the time there's an issue where people would say that if you were married, there was a husband in the house, then you were not likely to get subsidized housing.
Right.
Is that true? I would hope that it's not, but it goes to a larger issue if it is.
I think historically that has been an issue. If we go back in the beginnings of subsidized housing and how it was set up, it appears that that was very much the issue. Okay. Going forward, in my time in working with fair housing, I don't see that as no longer as being a primary policy issue. Oftentimes, unfortunately, what may happen with the father in the family is that, especially if you're going into subsidized housing, if the father is a convicted felon, if the father has been convicted of some type of drug activity, it is very hard for him to remain with that family unit.
That's a significant barrier.
That is a significant barrier.
And that goes to another issue as well with the reentry issue that we have right now in the country, particularly here in Alabama. How can a father who is re-entering society from prison reestablish his foundation, his base with his family? Because most often he's not going to have the income sufficient enough to afford housing, and he's going to need subsidized housing. How difficult is that, and how difficult will that be in the future?
I think it's very difficult, and unfortunately, I don't think those fathers that are re-entering will be able to tackle this on their own. It's going to take the Fair Housing Center. It's going to take the Fatherhood Initiative. It's going to take the law enforcement. Collectively, if we work on it, because here's what HUD is saying about subsidized housing. And especially when it comes to public housing and housing provided by the housing authorities, there are only a couple of things that you can be permanently denied that housing, and that's one, if you are a convicted sex offender. We have no options for you, okay? And if you've been convicted of the production or sale of methamphetamines, okay? Most people don't know that. So what if you're convicted for marijuana use, or what if your conviction was on cocaine? you're not barred from life because of that. Now, here's where the larger policy piece that we need help on.
Okay.
And what we continue to push back with HUD and say is this. You have sent out, they did a memo maybe about 3 or 4 years ago reminding housing authorities that you don't have to turn these individuals away. HUD is looking at a window of maybe 3 to 5 years after the person has been released for their time served as you being able to re-enter into subsidized housing. The issue with that still is 3 to 5 years is a long time.
Yeah, what are they doing in the meantime?
In the meantime. Right. And so if that's the piece that you're going to put in place, I would like to see that policy done away with. I am one who feels like if you have served your time, why is an individual continue to be punished?
Well, I think it's going to have to be looked at just as you just stated, because we do have an influx of people re-entering society.
Yes.
And they have families.
Yes.
Chief Barber has initiated a program called Second Chance Rails with the U.S. Attorney's Office. The program has received nationwide attention because it goes toward rebuilding the family. And one of the obstacles is just what we're talking about right now, finding sufficient housing for a family to get out of a community that may have been or may have contributed to the problem of incarceration, getting that person away from that environment with their family so they can actually be a productive part of society.
You know, you talked about how you guys try to help, and you have some particular avenues to pursue that. Housing First.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Housing First is another nonprofit agency. They are located here in Mobile, and they were formerly known as the Homeless Coalition of Mobile.
Okay.
Okay, and so now it is Housing First, and so their mission has broadened some, and so the services that they offer are free. It's for the chronically homeless. It's for veterans. It's for families at risk of becoming homeless. Okay. And so if you start there, if you have an at-risk family who potentially could be becoming homeless, then that's a good place to start, because they're going to have the antennas to reach out to all of the other social service agencies who could help them with their needs, which can be multi-layered, I'm sure, as you know. And one of the other things that I most recently found out is that they do have some dollars to help individuals who have been incarcerated and are coming out. And so I don't know that they have a huge amount of dollars, but they do have some. So that's a positive for us to know about.
So if somebody reached out to you, that's somebody you might make a referral for.
Yes.
As well as legal services.
Legal services offers very low cost or free, based on your income, services. And a lot of things they deal with are landlord-tenant issues. Some of the other things they deal with are domestic violence issues. And what most women and or men, because sometimes men are at the end of domestic violence. Right. What they don't know is that if you have been in a domestic violence situation, you cannot be evicted because of that. Now, the perpetrator can be removed from the lease and made to leave the premises.
Okay. Well, Teresa, this is a hugely interesting conversation, and I think we're going to have to continue to have this conversation, but we're going to take a break at this time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I had a wonderful experience at Baker High School. I was very fortunate to have teachers who were not only academic mentors, but also personal mentors as well. They really took an interest in your life. One of the things I loved the most about Baker was that it was a place where you felt comfortable and you could find your own fit. Been fortunate enough to go to law school and practice law for a little while and start my own business, and all the things I've been able to accomplish in both my personal and professional lives, it all started at Baker.
The Mobile County Public Schools Signature Academies program offers a variety of specialized curriculum for highly interested and motivated students. These academies provide students with choices ranging from aviation to healthcare, advanced information technology to international studies, from engineering to coastal studies. These high-quality, hands-on programs prepare students for careers readily available in Mobile County. Signature Academies program. It starts with us.
And we're back, and we'd like to welcome a guest, a new guest, Miss Larissa Dickson. She's with the school district. Could you tell our audience what you do, first of all? What's your job title?
Hi, I'm Larissa Dickson, and I'm a social worker with Mobile County Public School System. I work in Student Support Services, Homeless Education Department.
Okay. And can you tell us, our audience, just a little bit about yourself as well?
Okay, well, I'm not a native Mobilian.
That's okay. We'll forgive you for that.
I moved here in 2001
okay.
With a job that I transitioned from and came into the school system in 2003, serving in the Homeless Education Department, and so I've been there since then.
That you know, homelessness, that's significant. You know, we talk about a person being able to come to school and learn, having a roof over their head, having food in their stomach, and being safe. Those things are huge in terms of a young person being able to learn. And so you're quite important to families in our schools and in our community.
Well, the services that we offer through Student Support Services and Homeless Education is quite important to that population. They are already experiencing housing instability, not knowing where they're going to live, where they're going to sleep at night, what they're going to eat is a huge factor. And then to have to come to school and try to concentrate on learning, reading, and behaving is a challenge for them. So what we want to do is to remove barriers to make sure that they are enrolled in school.
Larissa, how big is the homeless problem in Mobile County?
It is, we have about 5,000 students that we have identified as being homeless in the Mobile County School District.
And what's the definition of homeless for the school district?
Exactly, I was wondering that.
Now, the definition of homeless is different than what HUD describes homeless. And it's atypical of what people usually think of homeless students. Generally, when you think of homelessness, they think of the haggard man with the beard, with all the layers of clothing, or they think of the lady pushing the shopping cart. They think of people living up under a bridge. But that's not the case. McKinney-Vento, which is the piece of legislation that covers homeless education rights for students, define homeless students as those that are living in shelter. So it could be a domestic violence shelter or a family shelter. Those who are living in hotel and motels that are paid by the day or week. Also those who are living doubled up. Now that is a big area that most people don't consider to be homeless. So if a family falls on economic hardship, say a parent loses a job and they're unable to afford housing on their own, and they move in with a relative or a friend, that host family is not considered homeless, but the family that moved in is considered homeless. And that make up probably about 80 to 85% of our students who are considered to be homeless.
80%?
80 to 85 of those 5,000 students that we identified are living in doubled up situations.
So if your name's not on the lease, if somebody at somebody else's discretion, they can just say leave. And then, yeah, you're easily homeless then.
Right, and that's why McKinney really looks at that population, because the family lets them in, and you know, with the family dynamics or friendship dynamics, you don't always agree. So at any moment, that person can say, leave. Now, there are some, they're protected under fair housing where they have to go through the eviction process. But most families will say, I don't want my children in a setting where they are not wanted. So they will leave, even though they may have legal rights to stay there, but they will leave because it's not a safe environment for them mentally or physically, so they may leave.
So for clarification purposes for me, basically if someone allows someone to live with them and decide later that they want them to move, there is a process. They can't just automatically put them out.
They cannot automatically make them leave. They have to give them a notice and for them to allow them to move out. And in some cases go through the eviction process. But most of the families that we work with choose to just leave because they don't want to go through that. They don't want to go through that situation.
Right. Right. Okay. There are a lot of organizations out there right now, locally, that help the homeless. I know Family Promise is one, and you said on the board of Family Promise.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the services Family Promise provides.
Family Promise is a shelter that is a non-traditional shelter because it takes in non-traditional families. Normally you think of a family as mother, father, children. Well, Family Promise will take in a mother, her mother, and the children, or will take in a mother and father and the children, or take in an aunt, mother, and the children. So it really accepts the families in, and it allows them a place to stay. Now, it's a network of churches. I believe there's about 17 host churches, and the family will stay at the church for a week, and then transition to the next host church the following week.
Say they stay at the church?
Yes, they stay at the church. They it's kind of like a rolling shelter, as you speak, where the cots follow the host church. So I think they transition on.
So the churches share the responsibility.
The churches share the responsibility of providing a stable place for them to stay for that week and meals for them to have during the week. And then also Family Promise provide case management services so that families who are in the shelter receive services and are connected to vital services such as employment, transportation. We work closely with them, so when their children come into shelter, we make sure that those students stay in their school of origin, which is important, and we help with transportation to get those children back and forth to school.
And not to put churches on the spot, but how often, I mean, do you have any resistance in churches wanting to participate in this process, or do you have a selection of churches that you I guess, try to get to be involved?
Well, no, it's totally voluntary, and I think with the population of churches, they're willing to help. They see that it's a need. And because Mobile, we really don't have that many shelters that provide services to families, so they're willing to step up. And the faith base has really been great to Mobile and great to our homeless families in giving them a place to stay.
Good. In terms of helping, how does someone know or identify that homeless kid, or how does that homeless person recognize a way to help themselves?
Well, when we first started, when I started back in 2003, it was a big thing in doing training, educating.
Education.
Education is the key.
That's the key.
We had to educate our administrators, our registrars, our teachers, our bus drivers, our nurses, our counselors on signs of homelessness, what to look like.
If they see that somebody appears to be homeless to them, they need to reach out to you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Larissa. We appreciate it. This has been a great show. I think our audience probably got some good stuff. I did. I got some good stuff.
Great.
Thanks for saying Safe Schools.